Have you ever wondered what happened to GTA actors after game's success? Let's find out. Tommy Vercetti was played by Ray Liotta. I mean, come on, you know him from Goodfellas. When we look at Liotta's career as a whole, we're talking A-grade material here, no doubt about it. This dude burst onto the scene in the 80s and quickly made a name for himself with that intense, piercing gaze and his ability to play complex characters. His breakout role in Goodfellas as Henry Hill? Man, that performance alone is enough to cement his legacy. Liotta brought this raw energy to the screen that was just electric. But let's not forget his versatility. He could play the tough guy, sure, but he also knocked it out of the park in more sensitive roles. Take Field of Dreams, where he played Shoeless Joe Jackson. Totally different vibe, but Liotta nailed it. And who could forget his turn as a corrupt cop in Narc? The guy had range, plain and simple. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, Liotta was on fire. He was mixing it up with big-budget flicks like Copland and Hannibal, while also taking on more indie projects. He wasn't just a one-trick pony. He was constantly challenging himself and pushing his boundaries as an actor. Now, let's zoom in on Liotta's career post-Vice City. For those who don't know, Liotta voiced Tommy Vercetti in the iconic video game Grand Theft Auto Vice City back in 2002. It was a huge hit and introduced Liotta to a whole new audience. After Vice City, we're looking at a solid B grade for Liotta. Here's the thing, he wasn't as prolific as he was in his earlier years, and you didn't see him headlining as many blockbusters. But don't let that fool you. Liotta was still out there doing his thing, just on a different scale. He took on more supporting roles, but man, did he make them count. In Killing Them Softly, he shared the screen with Brad Pitt and delivered a performance that was both pathetic and menacing. Not an easy balance to strike. Then there's The Place Beyond the Pines, where he played a corrupt cop, again, but brought so much nuance to the role that you couldn't help but be captivated. Liotta also started branching out into TV more during this period. He had a great run on the show Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez, proving he could still bring that intensity to the small screen. And let's not forget his turn in The Many Saints of Newark, the prequel to The Sopranos. Even in his later years, Liotta was still taking on challenging roles and knocking them out of the park. So yeah, while he might not have been as high profile in the latter part of his career, Liotta was still out there doing quality work. He seemed to be more selective about his roles, focusing on projects that really interested him, rather than just going for the big payday. In the end, Ray Liotta left us with a body of work that most actors would kill for. From his early breakout roles to his later, more nuanced performances, he consistently brought his A-game to every project. Sure, he might have slowed down a bit in his later years, but the talent and charisma were always there. Next, CJs Actor, young Maylay. So, young Maylay, also known as Christopher Bellard, made a huge splash in the gaming world back in 2004 when he voiced Carl CJ Johnson in GTA San Andreas. This game was massive, man. It changed the game, literally and figuratively, and Maylay's performance as CJ was a big part of that success. Now, when we look at Maylay's career after San Andreas, we're looking at a solid B. Here's why. After voicing one of the most iconic characters in video game history, you'd think Maylay would be everywhere, right? But that's not exactly how it played out. Maylay didn't become a household name or a go-to voice actor for big-budget games after San Andreas. He didn't pull a Nolan North or a Troy Baker and become the voice of every other video game character out there. But here's the thing. He was still known, still respected in certain circles. After San Andreas, Maylay focused more on his music career. He'd been a rapper before the game, and he continued to put out tracks afterward. His association with GTA definitely gave him some extra cred in the hip-hop world. He released a few mixtapes and even dropped an album called San Andreas, the Original Mixtape in 2005, capitalizing on his GTA fame. Maylay also did some acting work here and there. He appeared in a few TV shows and movies, nothing major, but he was still in the game. You might have spotted him in shows like The Shield or Southland. These weren't leading roles, but they showed that Maylay was still working in the entertainment industry. What's interesting about Maylay's career is that he never really distanced himself from his role as CJ. Unlike some actors who try to escape their most famous roles, Maylay seemed to embrace it. He'd show up at gaming conventions, do interviews about his experience working on San Andreas, and generally seemed cool with being known as the voice of CJ. In the gaming world, Maylay maintained a kind of cult status. Whenever there were rumors about a San Andreas remake or sequel, his name would pop up in discussions. Gamers remembered him, even if he wasn't actively doing more voice acting work. So why a B grade? Well, Maylay didn't exactly set the world on fire after San Andreas. But he didn't fade into obscurity either. He leveraged his GTA fame into a modest but respectable career in music and acting. He remained a known figure, especially among GTA fans and in certain entertainment circles. The thing is, voicing CJ in San Andreas was such a massive achievement that it would have been tough for anyone to top that. Maylay might not have reached those heights again, but he stayed in the game, kept working, and maintained his connection to the role that made him famous. In the end, young Maylay's post-San Andreas career is a reminder that success in the entertainment industry can take different forms. He might not have become a superstar, but he built a career on his own terms, staying true to his roots in music while keeping one foot in the acting world. Next, Michael Hollick, who played Niko Bellic. So, Michael Hollick burst onto the gaming scene in 2008 when he voiced Niko Bellic in Grand Theft Auto 4. His performance was praised by critics and fans alike. Hollick brought a depth and complexity to Niko that really resonated with players. The character's dry wit, world-weary attitude, and conflicted moral compass made him stand out in the pantheon of GTA protagonists. Hollick's voice work was a big part of what made Niko feel so real and relatable. But here's where things get a bit, well, disappointing. After GTA 4, Hollick's career took a nosedive. We're talking a steep drop-off, folks. It's like he went from being the voice of one of gaming's biggest franchises to basically vanishing into thin air. That's why we've got to slap a D grade on Hollick's post-GTA 4 career. Now, you might be wondering, what happened? Well, it's a bit of a cautionary tale about the video game industry. See, Hollick was vocal about his dissatisfaction with his compensation for GTA 4. He felt that voice actors weren't being fairly paid for their work, especially given how much money these games were making. This public disagreement with Rockstar Games might have burned some bridges in the industry. After GTA 4, Hollick's acting credits became few and far between. He had a small role in the TV show Law and Order in 2009, and he did some voice work for a few lesser-known video games. But we're talking about tiny roles here, nothing even close to the scale of Niko Bellic. In recent years, Hollick has become almost non-existent in the entertainment industry. It's like he dropped off the map entirely. No major voice acting gigs, no significant TV or film roles, nothing. It's a stark contrast to the fame he achieved with GTA 4. What makes this even more of a bummer is that GTA 4 continues to be celebrated as one of the best entries in the series. Fans still quote Niko's lines and talk about his story, but Hollick, the man who brought Niko to life, hasn't been able to capitalize on that enduring popularity. It's a reminder of how fleeting fame can be in the entertainment industry, especially for voice actors. One minute you're the voice of a beloved character in one of the biggest game franchises in the world, and the next, well, you're barely a blip on the radar. To be fair, we don't know the full story. Maybe Hollick chose to step away from the limelight. Maybe he's pursuing other interests behind the scenes. But from what we can see publicly, his career after GTA 4 has been disappointingly quiet. Michael Hollick gets a D for his post-GTA career. Next, Ned Luke, who played Michael DeSanta. First off, we've got to give Ned Luke a solid A for his post-GTA 5 career. This guy took his newfound fame and ran with it, showing us all how it's done. Let's break it down. So, GTA 5 drops in 2013, and it's an instant hit. Ned Luke's performance as Michael DeSanta, the retired criminal trying to go straight, but not really, is one of the standout elements of the game. Luke brought this perfect mix of world-weary cynicism and explosive anger to the role that just clicked with fans. Now here's where Luke played it smart. Instead of distancing himself from the role or trying to move away from gaming, he embraced it fully. He recognized the passionate fan base that GTA has and decided to engage with them directly. Luke started streaming on platforms like Twitch and YouTube, playing GTA 5 and other games, interacting with fans, and generally just being a cool dude. His streams aren't just about gaming either. Luke often shares stories from his time working on GTA 5, giving fans those behind-the-scenes tidbits they crave. He's built up a substantial following, with hundreds of thousands of subscribers across his social media platforms. That's no small feat in the crowded world of gaming content creators. But Luke didn't just stick to the gaming world. He leveraged his GTA fame to boost his acting career too. Since GTA 5, he's appeared in a bunch of TV shows and movies. We're talking roles in shows like Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, Boardwalk Empire, and American Gothic. He also starred in the film Darlin in 2019. These might not be leading roles in blockbusters, but they show that Luke's kept his foot firmly in the door of traditional acting. What's really impressive about Luke's career is how he's managed to balance these different aspects. He's still active in voice acting, he's doing live action roles, and he's built this whole new career as a content creator. Luke's also been smart about maintaining his connection to the GTA franchise. He regularly appears at fan conventions and gaming events, often alongside his GTA 5 co-stars Stephen Ogg, Trevor, and Sean Fontano, Franklin. This has kept him relevant in the gaming community years after the game's release. And let's not forget, GTA 5 has had some serious staying power. With its online component continuously updated, the game has remained popular years after its initial release. Luke has benefited from this longevity, with new players constantly discovering his performance as Michael. Gotta give him a Sean Fontano, Franklin guy. First off, Fontano's performance as Franklin in GTA 5 was killer. He brought this perfect blend of street smarts and ambition to the character that really resonated with players. Franklin's journey from small-time hustler to big-league criminal was one of the highlights of the game, and Fontano's voice work was a big part of that. Post-GTA 5, Fontano hasn't exactly set the world on fire, but he hasn't faded into obscurity either. He's kept his toe in the entertainment industry, which is more than some voice actors manage after a big role. One of the coolest things Fontano's done is embrace his connection to GTA. Unlike some actors who try to distance themselves from their most famous roles, Fontano's been all about that GTA life. He's appeared at gaming conventions, done interviews about his experience on the game, and generally seems proud of his part in the GTA legacy. Fontano's also dipped his toes into the streaming world, though not to the same extent as his co-star Ned Luke. He's done some live streams playing GTA 5 and interacting with fans, which is always cool to see. In terms of acting, Fontano hasn't landed any massive roles since GTA 5, but he's still in the game. He had a small part in the TV series The Mick in 2017, and he's done some voice work for a few other video games. Nothing major, but it shows he's still active in the industry. Fontano's also been involved in some music projects. He's released a few tracks and music videos, tapping into his background in the hip-hop scene. While he hasn't exactly topped the charts, it's another way he's kept himself out there and creative. Now, why not a higher grade? Well, compared to someone like Ned Luke, who's really capitalized on his GTA role, Fontano's post-GTA career has been relatively low-key. He hasn't landed any major acting roles or become a huge presence in the streaming world. His projects have been smaller scale and more sporadic, but here's the thing. Fontano seems content with where he's at. In interviews, he comes across as a guy who's happy to have been part of something as huge as GTA 5, but isn't necessarily chasing superstardom. He's staying active, doing his thing, and seems to be enjoying the ride. So yeah, we're looking at a C+ or B for Sean Fontano's post-GTA 5 career. He's still in the game, still connected to his fans, and still doing creative work. It might not be Hollywood blockbusters or chart-topping albums, but he's carved out his own path and seems to be making it work for him. Now we're looking at a solid B for Steve Ogg's career after GTA 5. Ogg's performance as Trevor in GTA 5 was nothing short of iconic. He took this absolutely unhinged character and made him somehow both terrifying and oddly likable. It was the kind of performance that could have easily typecast him, but Ogg managed to parlay it into a decent career in TV and film. After GTA 5, Ogg started popping up in a bunch of different shows. One of his most notable roles was as Simon in The Walking Dead. It wasn't a huge part, but it was a recurring role in one of the biggest TV shows of the time. He brought that same intense energy he had as Trevor, but in a whole new context. Then there's his role in Better Call Saul. Ogg played Sobchak, a minor but memorable character in a critically acclaimed show. It might not have been a starring role, but being part of the Breaking Bad universe is definitely a feather in his cap. Ogg also showed up in Westworld, another high-profile HBO series. Again, not a major role, but it shows he was getting consistent work in quality productions. He's had parts in other TV shows too, like Broad City and The Tick. On the film side, Ogg hasn't exactly been headlining blockbusters, but he's been working steadily. He had a role in The Tick movie, appeared in the indie film He Never Died alongside Henry Rollins, and was in the action flick Solace. One of the cool things about Ogg's career is how he's managed to avoid being completely typecast as the crazy guy after Trevor. Sure, he's played some intense characters, but he's also shown range. He's done comedy, drama, sci-fi. The dude's got versatility. Like his GTA 5 co-stars, Ogg has also been good about engaging with fans. He's appeared at conventions, done interviews about his time on GTA 5, and generally seems to appreciate the boost the game gave his career. So why not a higher grade? Well, while Ogg has been consistently working and appearing in some high-quality productions, he hasn't quite broken through to the A-list. He's not headlining major films or snagging leading roles in prestige TV series. His parts, while often memorable, tend to be supporting roles or guest appearances. That said, a B is nothing to sneeze at. Ogg took the exposure from GTA 5 and turned it into a solid, respectable career in TV and film. He's working consistently, appearing in quality productions, and seems to be steadily building his resume. In the voice acting world, he hasn't done a ton since GTA 5, but he did reprise his role as Trevor in some GTA Online content, which is always cool for the fans. All in all, Steve Ogg's post-GTA 5 career is a good example of how to leverage a breakout role into a steady acting career. He might not be a household name, but he's made his mark and continues to pop up in interesting projects. And we are so done. Comment down your thoughts about this video. Video game actors, especially GTA, doesn't necessarily become household names, but they still give it all. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.